Today we're doing a bit of a cozy cow look back on this plot of land that many years ago we tried planting. Now this was before we had the seed drill and the harrows and the plow, but looking back it's kind of neat to see. This effort shows that it can be done, but also how much more inefficient it is trying to do things without the right tools.
So to back up, the first year this was terrible weeds. We scraped them all off with a tractor, burned it, tilled the ground, and then tried to plant a mix of alfalfa and grass. Since we lacked some important tools, we followed a theory we had read about where you just broadcast the seed over the surface and let the snowpack and frost heaves set the seed into the ground. It didn't work very good.
The snow seemed to settle the grass seed down into small divots, so we got little clusters of grass growing, and the weeds went crazy, so we had to just keep trimming it the whole time. However, this year we are seeing a lot more grass, and we have hope that it's going to be doing quite a bit better. This year we're cleaning up this concrete rubble pile. As you can see, it was quite a bit bigger, but we're excited to get it out of here. We've got a place to dump it. We've only got a couple loads left, we hope, and then we'll have all this out of here. We'll harrow it over, clean out any of the junk, and get some fresh grass planted on this, hopefully before the spring rains stop. Our early cutting versus later cutting experiment. So this we had cut early. The cheatgrass came back great and is going out to seed again. But the really thick stuff that I thought, oh, this will grow back really nice, didn't. It didn't move at all. And we've had a fair bit of rain too, so I think it's interesting.
Year 3 and we still don't have good hay land. Year 2, we were so excited. We finally had a lot of grass growing. Till a month later when we found out it was all cheatgrass. We cut that, and here we are in year 3, and the cheatgrass is horrendous. We're going to try a different approach this time around, using selective grazing to really force out the cheatgrass. Cheatgrass is an annual plant, and so if we can get it taken care of without seeding, then we should be okay. So you'll see back here, this first strip is where we used to have the fence. We push the electric fence real tight to them so that they can only work a small area at a time. When we're trying to use our cows for weed control, we find unless we have them confined, they just munch out messy spots, lay on others, and really don't seem to go for the weeds at all. In this case, over the course of 3 days, they worked through the first section. Let's mowed a new path right here and put in the electric fence again. So in another 4 days, we should be able to move it to get that last strip.
Year 4 doesn't count. This was the bad drought, which you can check out in this video link at the top right. And so after years of growth, we finally got this great pasture that will serve both well for grazing and cutting hay. Now let's compare that to this field. You may remember from this other video that we experimented with plowing a plot using a 3-point plow, disking using discs, dragging over with a spike tooth harrow, packing with a wooden beam, and then planting with a seed drill. Unfortunately, that year brought terrible drought and the whole field was lost. So this spring I did it again, and I found out with a little bit of experience, I could get through the entire process from start to finish on this little half-acre plot of land in about 4 hours. And this year brought a lot more rain, one of the wettest years we've had for years. Come here, Pooch. Hey, doofus dog. This year we did this barley as a cover crop. And first of all, it has made a wonderful hay that I'm going to cut right now. And this will serve as excellent hay feed going into this winter for our cows. But the other purpose of this barley was to help protect this field from the weeds, as we have perennial grasses and clovers planted in at the bottom of these rows that I'm hoping will have gotten enough time to start to establish that they can then have a chance competing against the weeds here. And as you can see, there's quite a remarkable difference. This part of the field used to exactly match what's on the other side of that fence on the neighbor's land. As you can see, that field looks beautiful with all those yellows, but that's a bunch of wild mustard. And honestly, it's awful for hay. There's very little grass growth underneath. There's really not much to work with in there. Now, I only went through with a wand and spot sprayed a couple areas. And well, as you can see right here, we do have some weeds peeking up. That mustard is one of them. It really struggles to establish itself in this field with all this barley growing up. Really, using that seed drill made a world of difference. That germination rate was so much higher and the growth was so much stronger that I can see why it's worth putting a few $100s into equipment if you're going to plant more than one tiny plot. So what was the result of this cover crop experiment? We're about a week and a half after we cut. Now, we did have some disappointing rains, which meant we lost about a third of the barley crop. But those rains also help stimulate growth. So what is left? Well, amidst all of this hard barley stubble, you can see we've got some really nice clovers that are starting to come back in, as well as some fine perennial grasses that look like they'll do great, that at least have a chance of establishing themselves for the next couple years. We've learned a lot over the last couple years working our mid-century hobby farm.
We've grown, and so has our herd and flock.
But we still try to affordably increase our self-reliance while ensuring we and the kids are having fun.
Every day we find there is still more to learn.
So subscribe to join us on the journey.